Well, welcome back if you shut me off and you had to go to work and come back. But we're going to do Roman numeral 2, section 2, in this teaching on healing of emotional pain, healing of emotions. And the title of that is Ungodly Responses Are a Doorway for the Demonic. Using emotions in an ungodly way, using emotions in an ungodly way. Some of the subpoints under there, expressing emotions in an ungodly way is sin. We have to understand that. If we express emotions in an ungodly way, we could get help that we do not want. Sin, of course, opens up the door to the demonic, and the more we perform the sin, the stronger the hold the demonic can grip our lives and hold us in bondage. I did prison ministry at one point in my life. One of the men I ministered to, he was in jail for killing somebody. It was his wife. And evidently he had suspected that his wife was cheating on him. And he found some evidence in her purse that she had done something. He confronted her. And what he told me the first time I met him is that, of course, there had to be an exchange of anger and rage. But he said, I came to myself after I had stabbed my wife 47 times. Guaranteed that was not the first time that he gave into rage. He got help that he did not want to. And there had to have been a pattern of being able to explode and go into rage over years. And finally it culminated in an expression of rage to where he got help he didn't need to, blanked out, went into a blind rage, and stabbed his wife 47 times. Of course, she was dead. You and I hope will never do that. But you and I express our emotions in an ungodly way, and we have to understand when we do that, we get help many times that we don't need. On a personal level, if we're not choosing to love mercy for ourselves, if we're not loving ourselves, if we're hating things about ourselves, we're going to get help in what my friend calls the big four: self-hatred, self-bitterness, self-rejection, guilt. We're going to get help in magnifying those emotions to ourselves. We're going to get help when we respond and we have a stronghold of fear in our life. We're going to get help that we don't want. If we're constantly responding in anger, in an ungodly way now, I want to release you to express anger in a godly way, but we're going to get help that we don't want. So I want to start you on your own discovery of your emotions and expressing them coming out of any ungodly response. That includes no response at all. That includes no response at all. So I want you to kind of like, God, I'm just asking that those that are watching this, that you would bring them on their own discovery of how they're using their emotions, of how they're responding, and bring them out of any ungodly way of them using their emotions into a godly expression of expressing the full range of emotions. Your notes talk about developing an understanding for the root causes of your feelings, of emotions, by tracing fruit and root patterns of any negative emotional cycles that you have. In this scripture, Matthew chapter 7, a good tree cannot bear bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Thus, by their fruit you will recognize them. So the emotions, your emotions, are also going to be fruit of what's going on inside of you. Don't shoot the messenger, okay? God is not surprised by what's going on in your heart. He is alongside you. He is close by you. So don't go into shame. Don't go into guilt. Don't go into condemnation. Just say, okay, what's going on? Let the messenger out. And excuse me, let me say that differently. Let me listen to the messenger so I know what's going on in here. So if there is anything that needs to be healed, God can heal it. Let's not stuff it anymore. Okay? So what you're looking for, and this is going to start crossing over into other teachings that we have, you're looking to identify judgments, bitter roots, and vows and lies. And they're kind of in there. We have separate teaching on on forgiveness. We have a teaching on Bitterroot judgments. And we have a teaching, or will have a teaching, on vows and the power of words. And there is a teaching on that. It would be the one on the power of words. But vows, there's such power in vows that we make and self-promises. I'm not going to go into these. They're separate. If you, in identifying these, some things tap back to some of the things that the bottle that's inside of us is there's unforgiveness. You, in your current state, are probably fine, but there may be unresolved things in the past. If you have an emotional basement, as someone says, and it has a lot of pain and anger inside of it, there's some unresolved issues. More than likely, there's some forgiveness issues that go back to the past that you have kind of like forgotten about. The Bitterroots, and that I'll just say, just check out the teaching on Bitterroot judgments and go over that. But let's talk about this ungodly vow and self-promises for a minute, okay? It says in here in your notes that they can lock your thought and behavior into rigid dictates. There's one woman that's associated with our ministry that grew up in a house where it was extremely painful. And at some point in her childhood, she decided it is too painful to feel, and made a vow. And a vow is kind of like this: I'm deciding not to feel. It's not, I put my hand on the Bible, I solemnly swear, I will not feel. Because we could identify that. But at some point, she said this is just too painful. The emotions that are going on here are just too much. I can't live this way. And there's a silent vow that says, I'm not gonna feel, because it's just too hard. Okay? Now this person grows up, gets married, and is wondering, as a woman especially, why am I not feeling? Why am I not feeling? And God took her back to her childhood where she decided not to feel. And as her and God dealt with that vow, she is now, as an adult, able to express her emotions. Those are powerful things that you're looking for: judgments and Bitterroots and vows that you've made in relationship to emotions. How about lies? Lies we tell ourselves about what is happening. I love the power. This is such a powerful statement that it's number D here under B, roots of ungodly fruit. Emotions are created, emotions are not created by what is happening to us. Emotions come from what we tell ourselves about what is happening. Did you hear that? Emotions come from what we tell ourselves about what is happening. And that's how, when you are responding and it's, okay, why is this making me so angry? Why am I feeling so hopeless? Why? And is there such guilt in me? It's things that, and that's another thing. We talked about vows. The other thing that you're looking for is, what lies are you telling yourself? What lies have you believed? In that instance, I was telling you, there's things that happen that when I go over the top emotionally, that instance, I have told myself something about that exchange with another person that is saying something about who I am, saying something about my identity. So what lies, when your emotions are over the top, you are telling yourself something about the situation that is not true. So Lord, I just pray that you would expose the lies that my brother and sister is believing, that when they have an exchange with another human being or a situation or an organization, what I ask, Lord, that you would expose the lies that they're telling themselves that take them into emotions and into places that emotionally that they shouldn't be. I'm just telling you that we all have lies that we believe. We all have lies that we believe about God, about others, and about ourselves. And it's my heart that God would begin to show you some of the things that you're believing that take you places emotionally that take you places emotionally in your job, in your interactions with coworkers and your boss, in your church, and interacting with people and authority figures in the area of, let's just put it this way, your spiritual life. The authority figures in your spiritual life, how you respond to them. What happens when there's an exchange that, if there are any lies, that God would begin to say, son, daughter, we need to work on this. This is bringing an awful lot of emotion out of you, and it's not necessary. We've kind of talked about emotions affecting our health. I am going to read this though. This number B here. Emotions are a disease, and the disease connection. Talks about a scripture about a broken heart or spirit can destroy the immune system. But I like this. Long-term emotional pain can cause damage to the immune system. Cortisol, a hormone stimulated by fear, can help a person survive an emergency. That's good. By bringing on the fight or flight syndrome. But the same hormone can also destroy the immune system if used long term. In other words, we are in a constant state of fight or flight. Doctors are finding that depressed women have high levels of stress hormones and eventually develop problems with their appetite, sleep habits, and bones. And I would dare say that men are included in that as well. So, in recapping this section, I'm just we've highlighted how important, or that the truth is that when we express emotions in an ungodly way, we are stepping into the influence of the kingdom of darkness. That when we're looking at how we live life, that we want to look for roots that are feeding ungodly fruit in our life. Every one of us have roots that are feeding ungodly fruit. God is in the process. Most of us spend our life picking the fruit off the tree so no one can see it. But we all have fruit, okay? But it's the heart of God that you say, wow, man, that's a pretty big piece of ungodly fruit over here. Father, I know that you love me. Help me find the root system that is giving that such life, so that you and I together can see this, the power that's in your Son, in his blood, in his body being given as a sacrifice, can bring to death the roots that are feeding this big piece of fruit over here, because this has been happening a long time and I don't need this anymore. That's how God views. He comes alongside you and says, you know what? I've seen that for 20 years and you're just seeing it now. I'm not surprised by it. Son, daughter, I want to heal you. Let's stop picking the fruit. Let's follow the root system and bring healing, bring restoration, bring reconciliation, bring redemption, whatever has to be done down here on the root system, so that this thing will not grow back again. Then we talked about, the body connection. And the next one we're going to be talking about, the next session, is emotional reactions to life. So stay with us.